Jake never thought a simple phone call would turn his entire life upside down. He was sitting in his small apartment, going through unpaid bills, when his phone rang. The voice on the other end was smooth, confident, and belonged to someone who clearly had money. "I need a marine engineer," the woman said. "Someone who knows luxury yachts inside and out. Are you available tonight?" Jake looked around his messy apartment. His bank account was nearly empty, and he had 3 job interviews lined up for next week. None of them paid well, but they were honest work. This mysterious woman was offering him more money for one night than he usually made in a month. "What kind of work exactly?" Jake asked, trying to sound professional. "Engine inspection on my yacht. Nothing complicated. Just need someone with your expertise to check everything before I take a long trip." The woman introduced herself as Victoria. She had found his number through a friend who recommended him as the best marine engineer in the area. Jake felt flattered. He had been working on boats since he was 18, but he never considered himself the best at anything. "Where should I meet you?" Jake asked. "Monaco Harbor, Pier 7. My yacht is called Ocean Dream. You cannot miss it." Jake had never been to Monaco Harbor. He had heard about it from other engineers who worked on rich people's boats. Ellie came back with stories about yachts. It's bigger than most people's houses, and owners who treated money like it was nothing. The bus ride to Monaco took 40 minutes. Jake spent the time wondering what kind of person owned a yacht in such an expensive place. He imagined an old man with a white beard, maybe someone who made his fortune in business decades ago. When Jake reached Pier 7, his mouth fell open. The Ocean Dream was not just a yacht. It was a floating palace. The boat was easily 200 feet long, painted in elegant white with gold details. There were multiple decks, huge windows, and what looked like a helicopter landing pad on top. "Oh, you must be Jake." He turned around to see a woman walking toward him. She was not what he expected at all. Victoria looked like she was in her early 30s, with long dark hair and the kind of confidence that came from never having to worry about money. She wore a simple but expensive-looking dress that probably cost more than Jake's rent. "That's me," Jake said, suddenly aware of his worn-out jeans and old work shirt. Victoria smiled. "Welcome aboard Ocean Dream. I hope you are ready for an interesting evening." As they walked up the gangway, Jake noticed the crew members standing at attention. They all wore matching uniforms and seemed to watch every move Victoria made. There was something about their behavior that felt more like protection than normal. "Crew duties." "Impressive boat," Jake said, trying to make conversation. "Thank you. She has been my home for the past 3 years. I find the ocean more peaceful than land." Victoria led him through the main deck, pointing out different areas. There was a dining room that could seat 20 people, a library with books in multiple languages, and an entertainment room with the biggest television Jake had ever seen. Everything was perfectly clean and organized. "The engine room is this way," Victoria said, opening a door that led below deck. Jake followed her down a narrow staircase. The engine room was spotless, which surprised him. Most yacht owners never bothered to keep this area clean since guests rarely saw it. The engines were top of the line, the kind that cost more than most people's houses. "What exactly am I looking for?" Jake asked, pulling out his tools. "Just a general inspection. I want to make sure everything is perfect before my trip." Jake spent the next hour examining the engines, checking fluid levels, testing different systems. Everything was in perfect condition. These engines had been maintained better than most car engines he had seen. There was really nothing for him to fix or improve. "Your engines are in excellent shape," Jake said, wiping his hands on a cloth. "Whoever maintains them knows what they are doing." Victoria nodded. "That is good to hear. Would you like to join me for dinner? I always eat at 8, and it would be nice to have company." Jake looked at his watch. It was already 7:30. "I should probably head home. I have work tomorrow." "Nonsense," Victoria said with a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. "You have worked hard. The least I can do is feed you properly. Besides, we have not discussed your payment yet." The mention of payment made Jake reconsider. He had been expecting a check, but Victoria had not brought up money until now. Maybe she planned to pay him after dinner. "All right," Jake said. "Dinner sounds nice." Victoria led him to a smaller dining room than the one they had passed earlier. This one felt more intimate, with soft lighting and a table set for two. The crew had already prepared the meal, which looked like something from an expensive restaurant. "Hope you like seafood," Victoria said, pouring wine into both glasses. During dinner, Victoria asked Jake many questions about his work, his family, his life. She seemed genuinely interested in his answers, which made him feel important. Clients barely remembered his name, let alone cared about his background. "You live alone?" Victoria asked. "Yes, just me and my cat," Jake replied. "I had a girlfriend until recently, but things did not work out." "I am sorry to hear that. Relationships can be complicated." Jake found himself telling Victoria things he had not talked about with anyone in months. She was a good listener, asking the right questions at the right times. The wine made him feel relaxed, more open than usual. "What about you?" Jake asked. "Family? Friends?" Victoria's expression changed slightly. "I prefer to keep my personal life private. Let's just say I've learned to be very careful about who I trust." After dinner, Victoria suggested they move to the upper deck for coffee. The view was amazing. Monaco looked like a collection of diamonds scattered along the coastline. Jake had never seen anything so beautiful. "I should really get going," Jake said, checking his phone. "The last bus leaves at 11. "About that," Victoria said, her voice taking on a different tone. "I am afraid there might be a small problem." Jake looked at her. "What kind of problem?" "While we were having dinner, my crew discovered some issues with the engines that you missed. Nothing serious, but it needs to be fixed before I can let you leave." Jake felt confused. "I checked everything twice. The engines are fine." Victoria smiled, but this time it felt cold. "I am sure you did your best, but my crew has more experience with this particular yacht. They found some problems that need immediate attention." "I can come back tomorrow," Jake said, standing up. "I am afraid that will not work. I am leaving first thing in the morning, and I need this fixed tonight. Do not worry. You will be well paid for the extra time." Jake walked to the edge of the deck and looked toward the harbor. Something felt wrong, but he could not figure out what. The crew members were still standing at their posts, but now they seemed to be watching him more closely. "How long do you think it will take?" Jake asked. "Hard to say. It could be a few hours. It could be all night." "Why do not you get some rest?" "I have prepared a guest room for you." Well, Jake wanted to argue, but he was tired and the wine had made him sleepy. "Maybe it would be easier to just finish the job and leave in the morning." "All right," he said, "but I really need to be back by tomorrow afternoon." Victoria nodded. "Of course, sweet dreams, Jake." As Jake followed a crew member to his room, he did not notice the ocean dream slowly moving away from the dock. By the time he woke up the next morning, they would be miles from shore, and his real adventure would just be beginning. Jake woke up to the gentle rocking motion of the yacht. For a moment, he forgot where he was. The bed was incredibly comfortable, much better than his old mattress at home. The room was decorated with expensive furniture and had a window that looked out onto the ocean. Wait, the ocean? Jake jumped out of bed and rushed to the window. All he could see was blue water stretching to the horizon. There was no land in sight. His heart started beating faster as he realized what had happened. The yacht was moving, and they were far from shore. He quickly got dressed and rushed out of the room. The hallway was empty, but he could hear voices coming from the upper deck. Jake climbed the stairs and found Victoria sitting at a breakfast table reading a newspaper like nothing had happened. "Good morning, Jake," she said with a bright smile. "I hope you slept well." "Where are we?" Jake asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "About 50 miles southeast of Monaco." "Beautiful morning, is it not?" Jake looked around. The sun was shining, and the water was a perfect blue color. Under normal circumstances, it would have been amazing. But these were not normal circumstances. "I need to get back to shore," Jake said. "I have work today." Victoria put down her newspaper. "I am afraid that will not be possible right now. We are having some technical difficulties with our communication systems. Cannot contact the mainland at the moment." "What kind of technical difficulties?" "Nothing serious. My crew is working on it. Should be fixed soon." Jake did not believe her. Everything else on the yacht worked perfectly. Why would only the communication system break down? "I need to use a phone," Jake said. "I am sorry." but we had to secure all personal devices last night. Security protocol when we are at sea. Do not worry, you will get your phone back once we return to port. Jake felt a knot forming in his stomach. This was not right. He was essentially trapped on a yacht in the middle of the ocean, with no way to contact anyone? When are we going back? Jake asked. Soon, Victoria said. But first, you need to finish checking those engines. The crew found several issues that need your attention. Jake spent the morning in the engine room, but he could not find anything wrong. The engines were running perfectly. Every system he checked was working exactly as it should. Either Victoria's crew was wrong, or this was all an excuse to keep him on the yacht. During lunch, Jake met Anna, one of the crew members. She was friendly and seemed different from the others. While the rest of the crew treated Victoria like royalty, Anna seemed more relaxed around her. How long have you worked here? Jake asked Anna when they were alone. 3 years, Anna replied. It is a good job. Victoria treats us well. Have you ever had other guests like me? People who stayed longer than expected? Anna looked around, to make sure no one was listening. Sometimes, she said quietly. Victoria gets lonely. She likes having interesting people around. What happened to them? They all left eventually, some sooner than others. Jake did not like the sound of that. How much sooner? The last one stayed for 2 months. He was a chef. Victoria loved his cooking. 2 months. Jake felt his heart racing again. Did he want to stay that long? Anna shrugged. Hard to say. Victoria can be very persuasive. She has a way of making people feel special. That afternoon, Jake decided to explore the yacht more thoroughly. He needed to understand his situation better. The ocean dream was even bigger than he had realized. There were multiple decks, dozens of rooms, and areas he had not seen the night before. He found a room filled with expensive art, another with a full gym, and even a small movie theater. Everything was perfect, like a floating hotel. But Jake also noticed other things. There were cameras in most of the hallways. The crew seemed to always know where he was. Some doors were locked with electronic keypads. Jake tried to access the bridge, where the navigation equipment would be. The door was locked. He tried the communication room, also locked. Every area that might help him contact the outside world or understand where they were going was off limits. Looking for something? Jake turned around to find Victoria standing. Behind him, she had changed into a different outfit and looked even more elegant than before. Just exploring, Jake said. This is an amazing yacht.
Thank you.
I had it custom built 5 years ago. Do you like a tour of the areas you have not seen yet? Victoria showed him more rooms, including a library with books in multiple languages and a music room with a grand piano. She seemed proud of her, floating home, and enjoyed showing it off. You must be very successful, Jake said. I have been fortunate in business. Technology investments, mostly. Made the right choices at the right time. It must be expensive to maintain a yacht like this. Money is not really a concern for me anymore. I am more interested in experiences, in meeting interesting people like yourself. That evening, Victoria insisted they have dinner together again. The meal was even better than the night before, and the conversation flowed easily. Victoria was intelligent and funny, and Jake found himself almost forgetting his situation. Tell me about your dreams, Victoria said. What do you really want to do with your life? Jake thought about it. Have always wanted to travel, see different places, experience different cultures. But I never had the money or the time. Money should not be a barrier to living your dreams. Easy to say when you have it. Victoria smiled. What if I told you that you could travel the world? See places most people only dream about? I would say that sounds too good to be true. Sometimes the best opportunities come from unexpected places. Later that night, Jake lay in bed thinking about his conversation with Victoria. Part of him was angry about being trapped, but another part was starting to enjoy the luxury. The food was incredible. The accommodations were better than any hotel, and Victoria was fascinating to talk to, but he also missed his normal life. His cat would be wondering where he was. His boss would be angry if he did not show up for work. His friends would start worrying if he did not return their calls. Jake decided he needed to find a way off the yacht. He waited until everyone seemed to be asleep, then quietly left his room. The yacht was different at night.
Out.
Most of the lights were off, and he could hear the ocean more clearly. He made his way to the lower deck, where he had seen a small speedboat earlier. If he could figure out how to start it, maybe he could escape. But when he got there, the boat was gone. Looking for something? Jake spun around to find 2 crew members standing behind him. Were not threatening, but they were clearly there. To stop him? I was just getting some fresh air, Jake said. Perhaps you should get your fresh air from the upper deck, one of them suggested. Safer that way. As Jake walked back to his room, he realized that his situation was more serious than he had thought. He was not just a guest who was staying longer than expected. He was a prisoner on a luxury yacht, and Victoria had no intention of letting him go anytime soon. The question was, what was she planning to do with him? 3 days had passed since Jake's failed escape attempt. At first, he had been angry and frustrated. He had spent hours pacing in his room, thinking of ways to get off the yacht. But slowly, something strange started happening. He was getting used to this life. Every morning, Jake woke up to the smell of freshly brewed coffee and perfectly prepared breakfast. The crew treated him with respect, always asking if he needed anything. His clothes were cleaned and pressed every day. The food was better than anything he had ever tasted in his life. "Good morning, Jake," Victoria said as he joined her on the deck for breakfast. She was wearing a light blue dress that matched the color of the ocean. "I hope you are feeling better today." "Better?" Jake asked, sitting down across from her. "You seemed upset yesterday. I understand this situation is not what you expected." Jake looked out at the endless water. They were somewhere near the coast of Italy now, but still far from any land he could swim to. "I just want to go home." "I know," Victoria said softly, "but sometimes life takes us in directions we never planned. Maybe this is an opportunity to see things differently." Over the past few days, Victoria had been sharing more about herself. She told Jake about her childhood, growing up in a wealthy family that never had time for her. She talked about her business success, how she had built her fortune by investing in technology companies before anyone else saw their potential. "I have everything money can buy," Victoria had said the night before. "But I have never had someone who wanted to spend time with me for who I am, not what I have." Jake was starting to understand that Victoria was as trapped as he was, just in a different way. Her wealth had isolated her from normal relationships. People either wanted her money or were intimidated by her success. "Why me?" Jake asked during breakfast. "You could have anyone. Why keep me here?" Victoria smiled. "Because you are real. When you talk to me, I can tell you are not thinking about my money. You see me as a person, not a bank account." Jake had to admit there was some truth to that. Despite his situation, he enjoyed talking with Victoria. She was intelligent and had traveled to places he had only seen in movies. Her stories about different countries and cultures were fascinating. "Tell me about Japan," Jake said. "You mentioned you lived there for a year." Victoria's eyes lit up. It was incredible. The culture is so different from anything I had experienced. The respect for tradition, the attention to detail in everything they do. I learned so much about patience and mindfulness. As Victoria talked, Jake found himself forgetting about his problems. She had a way of making him feel like he was the only person in the world who mattered. It was a feeling he had never experienced before. That afternoon, Anna approached Jake while he was reading on the deck. She sat down next to him and looked around to make sure they were alone. "I need to tell you something," Anna said quietly, "about the others who stayed here before you." Jake put down his book. "What about them?" "The chef I mentioned. He was not the first. There have been others. A photographer, a musician, an artist. All talented, all interesting men. What happened to them?" Anna hesitated. "They all left eventually, but not by choice. Victoria would get bored, or they would become too demanding. Then one day they would just disappear." Jake felt a chill despite the warm sun. "Disappear how?" "I do not know exactly. But I found some photos in Victoria's private office. Pictures of all the men who stayed here. Your photo is already there." "Are you saying she hurt them?" "I do not think so. Victoria is not violent. but she has ways of making people disappear. From her life completely. New identities. Money to start over somewhere else, but with conditions. They can never contact their old lives again. Jake stared at the ocean. Why are you telling me this? Because I like you. You seem like a good person, and because I think you might be different from the others. Different how? Victoria talks about you differently? Seems more ... attached? That could be good or bad for you. That evening, Jake confronted Victoria about his situation. They were having dinner in the main dining room, and he could not hold back his questions any longer. How long are you planning to keep me here? Jake asked directly. Victoria put down her fork. That depends on you. What do you mean? How long do you want to stay? Are you not enjoying yourself? Jake looked around the luxurious dining room. The truth was, he was enjoying himself in many ways. The stress of his old life seemed far away. No bills to worry about, no demanding boss, no lonely nights in his small apartment. That is not the point, Jake said. Have a life to get back to, do you really? Victoria leaned forward. Tell me honestly, Jake. What were you going back to? A job that barely pays your bills? An apartment you can barely afford? Friends who only call when they need something? Jake wanted to argue, but he realized Victoria was right. His life had not been particularly fulfilling. He'd been going through the motions, working just to survive. I checked your background, Victoria continued. Your rent is 3 months. Behind, your credit cards are maxed out. You have no family, no girlfriend, no real connections. What exactly are you missing? My freedom, Jake said, though the words felt less convincing than they had a few days ago. Freedom to be poor? Freedom to be alone? Freedom to waste your talents fixing other people's boats? Victoria reached across the table and took his hand. I can offer you a different kind of freedom. The freedom to travel, to learn, to experience things most people never will. All I ask is that you share that journey with me. Jake looked into her eyes. There was something desperate there, something that reminded him of his own loneliness. And if I say no, then I will respect your decision. But I hope you will think about it. That night, Jake could not sleep. He stood on his balcony, looking out at the stars. The yacht was anchored near a small island, and he could see lights from a distant town. It would be easy to swim to shore from here, but for the first time since this whole thing started, Jake was not thinking about escape. He was thinking about what Victoria had said. His old life really had not been much of a life at all. He had been surviving, not living. Here on the yacht, he felt important. Victoria listened to his opinions, asked for his thoughts on everything from art to politics. She treated him like an equal, not just a worker. The crew respected him. He was eating better, sleeping better, and learning things he never would have learned at home. Cannot sleep either? Jake turned to see Victoria standing in the doorway. She was wearing a simple nightgown and looked younger without her usual makeup. Just thinking, Jake said. Victoria walked over to stand beside him at the railing. About what? About my life, about this situation, about you. And what conclusion have you reached? Jake looked at her. In the moonlight, she looked vulnerable. Almost fragile. I think we are both running from something. You from loneliness, me from failure, maybe Victoria said. But does that make this wrong? People finding comfort in each other? I do not know, Jake admitted. I just know that I am confused. Part of me wants to go home, but another part of me wants to stay and see what happens. Victoria smiled. That is all I can ask for, that you keep an open mind. As they stood there, in the moonlight, Jake realized his situation had changed completely. He was no longer just a prisoner trying to escape. He was a man facing a choice that would change his life forever. The question was, what choice would he make? The answer would come sooner than he expected. Jake woke up to the sound of rain hitting his window. The yacht was rocking more than usual, and he could hear the wind howling outside. When he looked out, he saw dark clouds covering the sky and waves higher than he had seen since arriving. On the ocean dream? Good morning, Victoria said, when he joined her for breakfast. She looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. I hope the storm did not keep you awake. A little, Jake admitted. Are we safe out here? Of course. I hate this. Yacht can handle much worse weather than this. but we might have to stay anchored here for a few days until it passes. Jake had been on the yacht for a week now, a week since his normal life had been turned upside down. He had stopped asking about going home every day, but the question was still there in the back of his mind. "Victoria," Jake said, "I need to ask you something. Anything." "Anna told me about the others. The men who stayed here before me?" Victoria's expression changed. For a moment she looked angry, then sad. "Anna talks too much sometimes. Is it true? Were there others?" Victoria was quiet for a long time. She stared out at the stormy ocean, before finally speaking. "Yes, there were others." "What happened to them?" "They left. Eventually, they all wanted to leave. But you did not want them to go." "No," Victoria said quietly. "I did not want them to go. I get attached to people, Jake. It is my weakness." Jake felt his heart beating faster. "What did you do to them?" "Help them start new lives, new identities, new locations. Enough money to be comfortable. But they had to agree to never contact their old lives again. That is basically making them disappear." Victoria looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I know it sounds terrible, but I could not bear the thought of them going back to their old lives and forgetting about me completely." Jake stood up from the table. "You are talking about destroying people's lives. I am talking about giving them better lives. Do you think any of them were happy before? Do you think they are unhappy now? That is not your choice to make." Victoria stood up as well, is it not? I have the power to change everything for someone. Oh. To take them from poverty and loneliness and give them a life of luxury and adventure. How is that wrong? Because it is not real, Jake shouted. "It is. Not their choice." The argument continued for an hour. Victoria explained how she had researched each man before bringing them to the yacht. She knew about their problems, their debts, their loneliness. She convinced herself that she was helping them by taking them away from their struggles. "I know what it feels like to be trapped," Victoria said. "Trapped by money, by expectations, by loneliness. Why? I thought I was freeing them. You were trapping them in a different way, maybe, but at least it was a beautiful trap." The storm got worse. The waves were crashing against the yacht, and even the crew looked nervous. Jake was in his room when Anna knocked on his door. "We need to talk," she said urgently. "Something is happening." Anna led him to a storage room where they could speak privately. "Victoria is planning something. I heard her talking to the captain about changing course. Where are we going?" "To her private island. She has a house there, completely isolated. No one can find you there." Jake felt panic rising in his chest. As soon as the storm passes. Maybe tomorrow." "I have to get off this yacht tonight. That is impossible. The storm is too dangerous. I do not care. Cannot let her take me to some island where I will disappear forever." Anna looked conflicted. There might be a way. The emergency life raft. It has GPS and emergency supplies. "But Jake, you could die out there. I might die anyway if I stay." That evening, Jake had dinner with Victoria one last time. She seemed more relaxed than she had been in days, almost happy. Jake realized she was excited about taking him to her island. "I have a surprise for you," Victoria said. "Tomorrow, we are going somewhere very special." "Where, my island?" "It is the most beautiful place on earth. You can be completely alone there. No distractions, no outside world to worry about." Jake felt sick. "What if I do not want to go?" Victoria reached across the table and took his hand. "You will love it, I promise. And once you see it, you will understand why I never want to leave." "Victoria, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" Jake looked into her eyes. Despite everything, he could see that she truly believed she was doing the right thing. She was not evil, just deeply damaged and lonely. "I cannot go with you to your island." Victoria's smile faded. "Why not?" "Because I need to choose my own life. Even if it is a difficult life, even if I struggle, it needs to be my choice." "But you said yourself that your old life was not fulfilling." "That is true. But the solution is not to run away from it. The solution is to change it myself." Victoria let go of his hand. "You want to leave me?" "I want to be free to choose whether to stay or go. Right now, I do not have that choice. I could give you anything you want. Money, travel, experiences most people only dream about. I know, but I need to earn those things myself. I need to build my own life, make my own mistakes, find my own way.
Ow.
Victoria was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. You are going to leave me alone again. You do not have to be alone. You could find someone who chooses to be with you freely. I tried that. People always leave or they only want my money. Then maybe you need to change how you meet people. Maybe you need to be honest from the beginning about what you want. Victoria stood up from the table. I thought you were different. I thought you understood me. I do understand you. That is why I know this is not the right way. The right way. What is the right way, Jake? To be alone forever? To never trust anyone? To never let anyone close? Jake could see the pain in her eyes. No. The right way is to find someone who wants to be with you because they choose to, not because they have no other option. Victoria walked to the window and stared out at the storm. You are going to try to escape tonight, are you not? Jake was surprised by her directness. How did you know? Because that is what I would do. And because Anna has been acting strange all day. Will you stop me? Victoria turned to face him. I should lock you in your room and take you to my island, where you will be safe and comfortable forever, but maybe you are right. Maybe. I have been doing this all wrong. Victoria walked over to a cabinet and pulled out a key. This opens the storage room where the emergency raft is kept. The storm should calm down around midnight. Jake took the key, hardly believing what was happening. You are letting me go? I'm giving you a choice. You can stay here with me, and I promise to treat you well. Or you can take that raft and try to reach shore. But if you choose to leave, you can never come back. I cannot handle being abandoned again. Jake looked at the key in his hand. What if I do not make it? Then at least you will have died as a free man. Jake spent the next few hours pacing in his room, thinking about his decision. Part of him wanted to stay. Life with Victoria would be easy, comfortable, luxurious, but it would also be a lie. He would never know if he could have made something of his life on his own. At midnight, the storm began to calm. Jake made his choice. He quietly made his way to the storage room and prepared the emergency raft. As he was about to launch it, he heard footsteps behind him. I came to say goodbye, Victoria said. She was wearing a coat over her nightgown and looked fragile in the moonlight. I am sorry it has to be this way, Jake said. So am I, but maybe this is how it was always meant to end. Victoria helped him lower the raft into the water. As Jake climbed in, she handed him a waterproof bag. What is this? Some things to help. You start over. And a letter. Read it when you get to shore. Jake looked at her one last time. What will you do now? I do not know. Maybe I will try to find a different way to live. Ow. I hope you do. You deserve to be happy, Victoria. Really? Happy. As Jake floated away from the yacht, he could see Victoria standing on the deck, watching him disappear into the darkness. He wondered if he would ever see her again, and if he was making the right choice. Only time would tell. Jake spent 6 hours floating in the emergency raft before he saw land. The storm had passed, and the sun was rising over the Mediterranean Sea. His arms ached from paddling. He was exhausted, but he had never felt more alive. The raft washed up on a small beach near a fishing village in southern Italy. Local fishermen helped him to shore and called the authorities. Jake spent the rest of the day explaining his situation to police, though he left out many details about Victoria and the yacht. He simply said he had fallen overboard during the storm. That evening, alone in a small hotel room, Jake opened the waterproof bag Victoria had given him. Inside was 10,000 euros in cash, a new passport with his name, but a different photo, and a sealed letter. With shaking hands, he opened the letter. Dear Jake, it began. If you are reading this, it means you chose freedom over comfort. I am proud of you for that choice, even though it breaks my heart. The money and passport are not to control you, but to give you the fresh start you deserve. You're right about everything. I've been running from my loneliness by trying to control others. But watching you choose uncertainty over security has taught me something important. Real love cannot be forced or bought, must be freely given. I hope someday I will be brave enough to try again, the right way. Please do not think badly of Me. I truly believed I was helping people, but I see now that I was only helping myself. Be well, Jake. Live the life you choose. Victoria. Jake read the letter 3 times before putting it away. Felt sad for Victoria, but also proud of himself for making the difficult choice. Now he had to figure out what to do with his newfound freedom. Over the next few weeks, Jake used Victoria's money to travel across Europe. He visited places he had only dreamed about: the mountains of Switzerland, the museums of Paris, the beaches of Greece. For the first time in his life, he was truly free to go wherever he wanted. But after a month of traveling, Jake realized something important. Freedom without purpose was just another kind of emptiness. He needed to build something meaningful with his life, not just run away from his problems. Jake decided to return home and face his old life. He used part of Victoria's money to pay off his debts and rent, but he saved most of it for something special. He had an idea that had been growing in his mind during his travels. Back in his hometown, Jake quit his old job and started his own boat repair business. But this was different from his previous work. He specialized in helping people who could not afford expensive repairs. He used his skills to fix fishing boats for struggling fishermen and pleasure boats for working families. The business grew. Slowly, but steadily. Jake found satisfaction in helping people, in using his talents for something meaningful. He made enough money to live comfortably, but more importantly, he felt proud of what he was doing. 6 months after his escape from the yacht, Jake received an unexpected visitor at his workshop. Anna, the crew member from Victoria's yacht, appeared. At his door one afternoon. "Anna, what are you doing here?" Jake asked, surprised to see her. "I need to talk to you," she said. "It is about Victoria." Jake invited her inside and made coffee. Anna looked different, less formal, more relaxed than she had on the yacht. "I quit working for Victoria 2 months ago," Anna said. "She changed." "After you left, changed how?" "She became very quiet, very sad. She stopped taking the yacht out, stopped having dinner parties, stopped doing most of the things she used to enjoy." Jake felt a pang of guilt. "I am sorry to hear that." "No. You do not understand. The change was good. She started going to therapy. She sold most of her expensive things and donated the money to charity. She is trying to become a different person." "Why are you telling me this?" Anna reached into her bag and pulled out a letter. "She asked me to give this to you if I ever found you." Jake took the letter hesitantly. "How did you find me?" "It was not hard. Your boat repair business has been in the local newspapers. People are talking about the guy who fixes boats for free for families who cannot afford it." That evening, Jake read Victoria's second letter. It was longer than the first one. "Dear Jake, I hope this letter finds you well and happy. Anna told me she was going to look for you, and I asked her to deliver this if she succeeded. I want you to know that leaving the yacht was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not because I wanted you gone, but because it forced me to look at myself honestly for the first time in years. I have been going to therapy for 4 months now. Dr. Rodriguez is helping me understand why I was so afraid of being alone that I was willing to trap people with me. I am learning that my wealth became a prison for me, just like the yacht was a prison for you. I have made some big changes in my life. I sold the yacht and most of my properties. I am using the money to fund scholarships for young people who want to travel and study abroad. I figured if I could not give someone the world myself, at least I could help them explore it on their own terms. I am also volunteering at a shelter for women who are trying to escape difficult relationships. It is strange how helping them escape has helped me understand my own problems. I wanted you to know that I am not angry with you for leaving. I am grateful. You showed me what real courage looks like. Choosing uncertainty over security, freedom over comfort that takes strength I never had. I am trying to learn from your example. I hope your life is everything you wanted it to be. If you were ever in Barcelona, I am working at a small cafe near the harbor, not because I need the money, but because I want to learn what it feels like to earn something through honest work. I would love to buy you coffee and hear about your adventures, but only if you want to see me. I promise I would never try to convince you to stay. Your friend, Victoria." Jake put the letter down and stared out his workshop window at the harbor. He thought about Victoria working in a cafe, trying to build a normal life. He thought about the scholarships she was funding and the women she was helping. 3 weeks later, Jake found himself on a train to Barcelona. He had told himself he was just curious, that he wanted to see if Victoria had really changed. But deep down, he knew the truth. He had never stopped thinking about her. The cafe was small and cozy, with tables overlooking the harbor. Jake spotted Victoria immediately. She was serving coffee to customers, wearing a simple apron and smiling genuinely at everyone she met. She looked happier than she had ever looked on the yacht. When Victoria saw Jake, she dropped the coffee pot she was holding, shattered on the floor, but she did not seem to notice. "Jake," she said, hardly believing her eyes. "Hello, Victoria. I thought I might take you up on that coffee." They talked for hours after her shift ended. Victoria told him about her therapy, her volunteer work, her simple apartment near the cafe. Jake told her about his business, his travels, his new sense of purpose. "I almost did not come," Jake admitted. "I was afraid you might try to convince me to stay again." Victoria shook her head. "I learned my lesson. If someone wants to be with me, it has to be their choice completely." "And what if someone did choose to stay? What would that look like?" Victoria smiled. "I do not know. I am still figuring out how to have a normal relationship. My therapist says it will take time." "I have time, Jake," said Jake. Extended his stay in Barcelona from 3 days to a week, then 2 weeks. He and Victoria spent time exploring the city, talking about their dreams and fears, learning to trust each other again. "I have an idea," Jake said on his last day. "What if you came to visit my hometown? Could see my workshop, meet my clients? Maybe we could figure out how to build something together." "What kind of something?" Victoria asked. "I do not know yet. But whatever it is, it would be our choice. Both of us, freely deciding to try." Victoria nodded. "I would like that very much." Jake and Victoria opened a non-profit organization, provided free boat repairs for fishing communities around the Mediterranean. Victoria used her business knowledge and remaining wealth to fund the project. While Jake provided the technical expertise, they worked as partners, not as captor and captive. They chose each other every day, and that choice made all the difference. Sometimes, Jake thought about that stormy night when he chose to escape the yacht. It had been the scariest moment of his life, but also the most important. By choosing freedom, he had not only saved himself, he had saved Victoria too, and now they were both free to choose love.